Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to this short talk about data binding in Angular 2. So let me introduce myself. I am Manfred. I am a trainer and consultant for Angular, and I have been announced as a GDE, which I am very proud of. Let's look first of all at data binding in Angular 1. When we look at data binding in Angular 1, we see that nearly everything can depend on everything. For instance, a model can depend on another model, or a model can depend on some kind of directive. So seems like there is a mistake here at this presentation when we are running it on a Mac. But let's spot it of this. So this leads Angular to run in cycles, and we call those cycles digest cycles, and we all can imagine that digest cycles aren't good for the performance. When it comes to Angular 2, the situation is quite different. In Angular 2 we have this component tree. That means that the whole application is a component, and this component consists of other components and so on. And because of this hierarchical structure, we can easily introduce some rules. And one of those rules is that data always flows top-down when it comes to property bindings. So because of this, we only need one digest cycle to synchronize our components with our UI. And of course, that brings a lot of performance. There is another rule, and this rule says that child components aren't allowed to alter the state of parent components. And Angular 2 checks this. Angular 2 checks this, for instance, when it is in the development mode. In production mode, Angular 2 isn't doing this because we don't need to do this because of performance reasons. So in addition to that, there is also something called event bindings. Event bindings allows you to talk to your child components. So I think everyone who is a father or a mother knows that talking to children is very important. And when it comes to event bindings, an event always has its origins within a child component, and it is always handled within a parent component. So it turns out that we don't need any digest for executing event bindings, because executing an event binding is just a matter of executing a callback. It is just a matter of executing some function, and because of this, executing event bindings is very, very fast. But events, of course, can change the state of your application. And for this reason, Angular 2 needs to update all properties after the event run. So for some reason, you can imagine that Angular is just some kind of state machine, at least when it comes to data binding. And this state machine contains three states. For instance, there is this state we see on the below of the slide, this state that says that the app is ready. The app is ready and it is awaiting some events. And when those events occurs, then Angular is triggering all the event handlers. And after that, Angular has to update all the property bindings by going through the whole tree, by going through the component tree, and by synchronizing the component tree with the UI. And after that, again, the application is ready and awaits further events. So we have these three states, or you can also see this as a combination of two phases of data binding. In addition to that, we have this handy two-way binding syntax, and it turns out that this is just syntax sugar for the combination of a property binding and of an event binding. So when you have a property binding, you can just take the name of this property binding and add the suffix change And this is the name of the event binding you also have to introduce to make this two-way data binding syntax sugar possible. In addition to that, you also have to expose the changed value as the $event pseudo variable. So this $event pseudo variable doesn't have to point to some big fat event description object. It has to point to your changed value. And when you are doing so, then you can use the shorthand syntax for two-way binding. So let me sum up the things I've told you. We have property bindings in Angular 2, they go one way top-down. We have event bindings, they go one way bottom-up. And two-way bindings are just a combination of property bindings and event bindings. And as we've seen, there is this convention for two-way bindings, and you should align to these conventions to use your own components together with this shorthand syntax, with this banana in a box syntax. So thanks for this and have a nice day.